Howdy, everybody. Bob Tallman for No Spin Rodeo. No politics, no BS, just hard-hitting news and rodeo commentary from two of the most trusted sources in our sport. Kendra Santos, Tommy Joe Lucia. Listen up. Here we go.
Hello, everybody. Tommy Joe Lucia here. I'm joined with the First Lady of Pro Rodeo Journalism, Kendra Santos, and, of course, our illustrious producer, the guy that makes everything happen, Greg Teagarden. Welcome to No Spin Rodeo. Those that are watching it live on Facebook, welcome. If you're watching it on YouTube, thanks for joining us. And if you're listening to the podcast, thank you very, very much. We appreciate all you listeners. This is episode 62. And if you heard the vocals, if you're in the production business, we call them vocals. If you heard that VO at the top of the show, then you will probably recognize that it is the legendary voice of the patriarch of our business, Bob Tallman. And we thought that it would be cool to just dive right in and have a conversation with the greatest rodeo announcer to ever play the game. And I don't say that lightly, the best. And I grew up with him, and I think Kendra did too. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to No Spin Rodeo, and welcome Mr. Bobby T, Bob Tallman.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Kendra, how's my makeup?
Well,
You're a little. You got your camera off a little bit there, Bob.
Now we see your palm.
Well, it's okay. It's my camera. Greg, you don't have to fly from Florida to come fix this for me.
Okay, I won't.
I got some Scotch tape here. I'm in a full-blown office. I have Scotch tape, staplers, you name it. And I think are we good?
Well,
No, we can't see you, Bob. You got to tilt the camera.
This is just like when I'm FaceTiming with my grandson.
Yeah. Yeah. I got one more piece of tape. You see, being the high-tech genius that I am, AM and FM on and off, turn
You
it
gotta
up,
tilt
loud,
it up,
rip the
Bob.
knobs off. Are
Tilt
we good
it
now?
towards you.
There we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's start this over. Once again, from his real estate tower, Baby Trump Tower in Parker County, Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Bob Tallman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I've had a very diversified day. I need you all right now. And
Is that a good thing?
yeah, it is. We've had 28 and a half inches of rain since the 1st of April, and you live here, you know. If you're in the farming business like we are, I have been cutting hay down for the last 2.5 weeks. We cut it down, we lay it down, we roll it over, we pick it up, we bale it, and then we run with it, and we bale 50, 60, 80, 100 bales, and then we got to wait, and then we go cut some more real quick, and then try to get it tethered up and get it, ready to roll. I'm in the hay business and the cow business, and that is important on this ranch.
Well, I would say so. But I tell you what, you and I talked earlier, we don't want to complain about the rain. I'd rather
Never.
get the tractor stuck than get a water
Yeah.
hose.
Well, in Texas, for those of you not living here, a baby calf in the rain every day is very important. And in the meat business today and in the marketing business of livestock, we need green grass for cows to eat, to make milk, to make babies, to grow babies, for our box beef business to sell steaks and everything to everybody's, home plate.
Well, I'm fixing to turn it over to Kendra and let her go, and then I'll jump back in. But I do have a question for you. Do you see my background? I'm going to see if you've ever been in this building. It's not very fancy. It's it's west of you, straight on I-20. Straight west.
Okay.
They've got a television show now that has about this oil field out here.
Yeah. Land
And the
man.
Nectar County. Yeah, Ector County Coliseum. I'm in the dressing room. This hole right here is where they took out the air conditioner that they put in 1962.
Yep.
And the interesting thing is they covered it with a sign from last year's bull riding, we noticed.
I know.
So, you know, they utilize everything they have here to make it work in Ector County.
Well, in Parker County here, behind me are two pictures at 1903 when my family moved to Denio, Nevada. And those two pictures up there are my great uncle, Francis Matteo Capelli. He'd come from Montana in 1895, shot a U.S. Marshal. I've got the gun he killed him with, and came to Nevada with 100 head of brood mares, 10 stallions, and 10 dogs. And you know the Montero family, Kendra, and all the stories that we've talked. He lived next door to the Monteros. And that's where my mother was raised in 1911 when she came through Ellis Island. So Lucia, that's full Italian. Capelli, I'm half Italian. So between the two of us, Tommy Joe and I, we're 1.5 Italian. Capiche?
Capiche?
The most spectacular woman in my lifetime was Lucy Mary Cavazza Santos, my dad's mother, full Italian, and I do capiche.
I knew you would. I knew you would.
And by the way, Tommy Joe, you just happened to spout off 1962 as making a crack about Ector Coliseum or whatever, and I'm always living in the Twilight Zone, but I came to know Bob Tallman as a girl through my dad, and today's my dad's birthday, and he was this is episode 62, and he graduated with the class UC Davis Veterinary School of Medicine of 1962. So there's all these 62s coming at me here, and as soon as we're done here, I'm going to go jump in his pool to celebrate his birthday. But anyway.
What about my dad went to UC Davis about let me get this right, 44?
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
And we'll get to you and I being Cal Poly Mustangs. Anyway.
When did you go to Cal Poly?
I went to Cal Poly from 1980 through 1986 when I graduated with my master's degree in business. So I went 6 years. Yes, sir.
I went to Cal Poly in 1966. Had the cap and steer contract. I stayed there 3 semesters, 1 full year. And when I transferred to the University of Nevada at Reno, I had 1.2 transferable credits. I had a good time. I spent 5 years in college, never graduated, and don't regret it.
You know what? You and Cotton, because he told me like best thing that came out of my college days, like I learned to write. He learned to write on his hand, and he learned to fly airplanes, and he also had a big time. So. Well,
you got to understand, when you're raised in Winnemucca, Nevada, then was about 1,800 people to 2,000. And I, as a kid, I did all kinds of things, most of them wrong probably, according to my dad. But you have to think about you're getting away from mom, you're getting away from your dad. And first thing I did was lease a 160-acre grain ranch, had a duplex, took a chainsaw, cut it in half, and 6 of us lived there, and mostly Nevada guys. And we had a large time, but I was a dairy manufacturing major because my grandfather owned a dairy at one time, and I thought I wanted to be a dairyman. And there was, the California dairy kids were just so awesome. Dr. Harmon Toon, the greatest nutritionalist teacher I ever had. And then I went on to find out that I wanted to be a cowboy. Then I went on to find out that I just wanted to live a life like I've lived.
That we should all, there's a Sheryl Crow song about that I love, about wanting what we have instead of wishing for all these things. Like,
yes,
wanting what we have is pretty important. So like, before we back it up, because I would love to know what it was like to grow up John and Irene Tallman's son. But one thing I think that we might share is that for people who expect me to come with the facts of how many times you've announced the NFR and how many times you've been the announcer of the year. Google has it at all different numbers. And so I'm just going to say we've lost track of how many times Bob Tallman announced this. This, I will say, ladies and gentlemen, is why I'm a proponent of people's bodies of work being complete before they go into halls of fame, because Tallman went into the Pro Radio Hall of Fame in 2004. Of course, he, had accomplished more than enough to do that. But in 21 years, his plaque is sorely lacking of other things that he's done. So just a little 2 cents there. So, okay, 04 Pro Radio Hall of Fame, 07, now it's called the National Rodeo Hall of Fame in Oklahoma City. We do have a fun picture from then of you and Donna McSpadden.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if that's handy to pull it, Greg, but I believe Clem, I know he was a wonderful instrumental person in my life, but Clem was
mine too.
Special to you, yes?
Well, people receive accolades and they get to receive awards and pendants and so forth and so on. And I received so many long before I believed that I deserved them. And I never did what I did to become another Hall of Fame inductee to, I think now that somebody told me the other day I was in 17 Halls of Fame. And that goes from Hawaii to California to Alaska to Canada to the Calgary Stampede to everything that we do in America. And I'm a much better presenter of those awards to other people than I am to be a recipient of those awards. Because being a recipient, and I found this out later in life when I became an ordained minister, unless that you understand why you're receiving an award, how do you thank all of the people that have given you that when Jesus Christ gave me the opportunity to be wild ass idiot running crazy for all those years, and it settles you. So Tommy Joe and I've had this conversation many times. Anthony and I have it quite often. And you need to learn it's not the award you're receiving, it's the time you have put in to become recognizable for that award. And you need to thank everybody that made that award happen. Well, after quite a few of them, I got to thinking, my God, I'm walking on water and I don't even know where the rocks are. And so I was cautious of the last 25 years not to do what I do to get another award. And when you texted me earlier today, how many times have you been to the NFR? Well, I went there, Bob Cook, Jack Roddy, and Jack Sparrow, RSC Rodeos, and all of your family, Clem McSpadden, in those days, Bob Edson and all the other people, Bob Thane, that we did a lot in California and Hawaii and Alaska with. They were all big on getting me in that rodeo. And the first time I went, I was four or five times, I was packing flanks for Bob Cook, flanking bulls and bucking horses, of which a few of them I had been in the tryout pen with Pat Pirelli to get on them. And I knew years ago I wasn't going to be Jim Shoulders or Larry Mahan, Ty Murray or Trevor Brazil or Joe Beaver or my dear friend Roy Cooper. And all of it, Tom Ferguson was not in the repertoire of those kind of people. So I had to learn how to adjust in a three-piece suit, packing flanks, standing behind Pete Gay when he rides Oscar, and Neil Gay's behind me holding on to the top of the deal. Cook standing behind him holding on the chute gate. And that little bull jumped out there and kicked me in the chest, and I had no place to go. And I'm just wanting to get some air and scream for Pete. Same thing of Donnie Gay when he rode Oscar at the Cow Palace, and however many great bull rides they've all made or bucking horse rides. You know what? I was there, and I anteed. And you remember Swizzle, Kendra, Carl, Bobby Moat's father-in-law? Carl Snavely worked for Christensen Brothers Rodeo. Here was our schedule in 1972 in Oklahoma City. We worked for bus driver. We got paid $15 a day. And after the rodeo at night, we would sort and feed and grain and water everything that bucked. And then we would hold them off the side. Then we would sort the next day's bucking horses, calves and steers. And we'd set them over here because they didn't get feed, but they got water. And then we'd get done about 1 in the morning. And we'd go to that round Holiday Inn they had in Oklahoma City. And we'd make Marty Wood wine, which was 130 proof. 130 proof whiskey wine. It was red because we put a lot of grape juice in it. And then we'd get up the next morning and we'd go feed after 3 or 4 hours of that. And then we'd come back and they'd always have a fashion show for the WPRA for the ladies. We went to the fashion show because we got a free lunch. We start over and we'd do it again. And then we'd load everything that we had taken from RSC rodeos or cotton and take off and go back to California. Then cotton got into my life. Then Mike Serby got into my life. And then, Jesus, I bought a twin engine airplane and that's how I went broke the first time.
Well, I think that like everybody wants, same with me, everybody wants to think like how glamorous and sexy, all of our jobs are and stuff. But I'm like, okay, the 1987 NFR was my first one, but how it is, the reality of it is all those years you're out there, you're at the Thomas and Mack really early, or I'll speak for myself, like for Sean Davis's meeting, and then the press room's open all day, and then the press room, you go to the post-perf meeting in Sean Davis's office, and then the press room's open till midnight. This used to be the way it was and stuff, and people are thinking, oh, you're so lucky you get, and it's like you're wiped all the way out. But I think you mentioned Roy Cooper, and the timing is so perfect because I said this the other day when talking about Roy, but it's I don't know if anything's a coincidence anymore, but I said that there were 2 times that I remember loading up to go home after a rodeo and asking my dad, what was that? And the first one was Lake Comanche, the first time I ever heard this little tall-booted, permed-haired buckaroo from Winnemucca named Bob Tallman, after being a kid who, grew up like listening to Cy Talon and Mel Lambert. Okay. And then the other one was at the Cow Palace in 1976, and it was Roy Cooper. And because I had never seen anything like, what in the world? And you both are revolutionaries. You both blaze big trails. Like roping will never be the same with Roy. Rodeo announcing will never be the same because of you. And that's all true. And I would love for you to take us back a little bit. And I don't think I'm misremembering being a little girl. Leo Camarillo was one of my dad's best friends. And did you live in a trailer on Leo's place in Clements?
Yep. Okay, let's go back to February 2nd, 1972. 1971, I went to the convention in Denver. And Vic Carmen, my dear friend, was just here the other day. We had lunch. He's 83 years old. And we were talking about it. I got on a train in Winnemucca with an easel, the picture of me and a little thin mustache and a white hat that I bought at Cotton's Cowboy Corral at the Cow Palace in October before I went back there to Denver in January. So I get on the little train with my little suitcase, and Kristen ships me off, and we go out across the salt flat, and it was run on steam in those days, and the doggone train froze up. So we spent 8 hours all one night with no heat, no water, anything else. I get to Denver, boy, I'm glad I'm telling this story. Go to the convention, and I meet Vic Carmen, first guy right off the bat. Well, the hidden gem in this was Guido, who I was going to meet in about 15 minutes. The king, the entertainer. Tommy Lucia. Just a minute. Tommy Lucia. walks up and he goes, I'm Tommy Lucia. You're new. I said, yeah. About as new as you could be, right off the vine. And he goes, come on with me. Fine Italian man that he was. And one of his kids on this podcast, the other one is winged up with me now. And. We go up on this balcony, looks out over this great big lobby in the Brown Palace Hotel, and he starts going, there's Cy Italian, there's Mel Lambert, there's Smokey Bogus, there's Leon and Vicki Adams, there is. And he said, now, Pete Logan was sitting down there smoking a cigarette in that little deal, cranky old son of a bitch that he was. And he's smoking that cigarette, and he looked up, and I see him looking up there at me. Later that day, he says, you're that Tallman guy from Winnemucca, aren't you? I said, yes, sir. I used to live in Winnemucca. He said, I hear you got a sound system. I said, yeah, a little one. Had 4 big university speakers, a little box to put all the cords into, and a $35 Windsor mic. Well, you better get rid of that sound system. We said, well, we don't do that around here. He said, we run with a live band. And the last thing we need is somebody undercutting us to get our jobs with a sound system. I said, okay. And I started to mimic him, pissed him off. So, but I needed a sound system later in life. And I'd been doing amateur rodeo, so 3 or 4 years in Nevada, California, Idaho, and Utah. And so Tommy took me that way. Then he took me away and he said, now listen. He said, I don't know you from Adam, but he said, you look like the right kind. I didn't know what that meant. But later in life, I found out. And Tommy Joe's daddy, I'm going to give credit. He gave me not a handout, but a step up in my head. So I didn't get any rodeos. All them other old rodeo announcers had marking pens. And they blacked out my teeth and they made my mustache big and they wrote shit on my hat and all kinds of stuff. And I didn't care. I had that for a long time. I think Kristen sold it in a garage sale 50 years ago. But I went home and Bob Cook told me, he said, you show up in Clemens, California when you can get there. And that was February 2nd, 1972. I pulled into his real estate office. Jack Sparrock was there. I knew who Jack Roddy was. He's a 3-time world champion. And they were going up against Cotton Rosser. Man, 3 guys, couldn't warm him up. Cotton Rosser, the king of showmen. Tommy Steiner, if he was alive, he would admit that. And Bobby will tell you today that his dad went to California to watch Cotton Rosser and learn more in a week than he could have learned in a lifetime. And Bobby and I laugh about that still today. I always make him tell that story. It takes him 20 minutes. So I went to work that day. Remember Enoch Walker, any of you, is a great Canadian champion bronc rider. We pull into the Fame Farms out off of Highway 88 going to Lake Comanche. And Enoch was breaking down truck tires. This is when I first met Bob Barnby. Bob Barnby was the king of cowboy producers in California because he had a set of buck and shoots, big old heavy wood ones, and he had a ranch. And they're at Linden on the way going from Clements to Oakdale, right in your backyard over there when you started coming to that country. So my job for the first week was swinging a 20-pound sledgehammer, knocking them rings off them tires, and we'd knock the tires off the wheels, put new tires back on the wheels, and then air them up and then snap them rings. And anybody that knows about snap ring tires, they'll kill you. I mean, they'll cut a horse in half. They'll cut anything in half if they come off wrong. But I was raised in a country that had snap ring tires, so I wasn't afraid, and I could help Enoch. And I slept. I had a Ford truck with a shell camper, a crawl through. That was a no-no in high school, but it worked. And a 3/4-inch piece of plywood and a foam mattress. I slept in my camper, went in, and with Enoch and Maggie Walker, went in at night, and I'd go buy a pint of whiskey or whatever, and I would pour Enoch that whiskey, and he would tell me rodeo stories. I learned as much from Enoch Walker as anything in the world, because he'd won everything from Madison Square Garden to Cheyenne. He'd won the Cow Palace. so forth and so on, and he knew the business. Okay, then it graduated from there and graduated from there. Then I met the Santos family, okay? And you got to go back and think about how good them guys roped and bulldog and could team rope. The other day at Santa Maria, I told the people, I said, all you people that think team roping is a Texas thing, let me tell you what. I watched Leo and Gerald on Shetland ponies whip men's butts back in the late 1960s and 70s. And that Leo Camarillo could throw a set of right-handed coils over the top and catch it and heel one left-handed. Reg Camarillo roped just as good, if not better, than Gerald. So I get goosebumps right now just thinking about how good they were. Sorry I had to run away, but that's my Tommy Lucius story.
Well, as a little girl, I would go sometimes to their roping schools and take the ropes. My brothers and I take ropes off at the back end and stuff. And so I kind of got a front row seat to the Camarillos and everybody, Leo was not for everybody, but if he was your friend, he was a good one.
Okay, I go to Bronx Bayline and Tessie Monroe's wedding the other night right down here at Glen Rose, Texas. Who's the first person I see? Sharon Camarillo. After about 6 or 8 years, oh, by the way, people want to get rich in the rodeo business. When I went to work for Bob Cook, Kristen, my wife, was a timer and a rodeo secretary that Edith Conley and June Bull Ivory taught how to secretary. And she made $20 a performance when we had old ring phones. Otherwise, you did it on a pay phone on the outside of the shed where the rodeo office was. And I worked for $600 a month, and Cook fed us all the time, and we were just fine. We had money to spend, $600 a month. And when you think about it today, these young guys want to go out and make $60,000 the first year they're in business. Get me a life. It's not the money you make, it's what you do with the money. It's not what you learn, it's how you keep it and turn it into the next session to learn how to be better, be bigger, and what you're going to go do with it. And I am the most blessed man on the planet.
Well, I feel like when people are motivated by money, it doesn't tend to work out.
No.
Or if it's your love, your passion, it's all, you just grinding it, you're just hell bent on being the best. The money will come, but it's kind of like winning the all around. Like for me, I always think like you don't think like, I promise you Stetson Wright's like, well, my goal, he might, yes, of course he wants to win the all around, but his thing is that he wants to win first in the bronc riding today and first in the bull riding today. And then the all around will take care of itself. But I feel like that's how money is in people's careers. Or I'll speak for myself. Like if you bust it and you're the best, you're going to do fine financially, right?
Money is the root of all evil. Too much of it makes you insane. Not enough of it will make you envious. And here's the deal, that when the disciples went to work for Jesus, okay, he didn't offer them a paycheck. He offered them salvation. When I went to work in the rodeo business, I had been in and around it for maybe, 10 years. I learned how to build arenas, pack panels, drive sets, drive big trucks, drive a set of doubles, learn how to back one up. You learn a level of responsibility that is worth more than what somebody could pay you. When I was 16 years old, I hired out as a brakeman, one of 10 kids in Winnemucca on the Western Pacific Railroad because they didn't want to bring the union guys from New York and Chicago. And the first year in 1964 that I worked there, I made over $6,000. That's be like 600 grand today. And I bought that Ford truck I was talking about. I bought a new 3-horse trailer or a 2-horse trailer from Circle J, the number 2 trailer they ever built. And I had money left over because I was going to some amateur rodeos and win a little here and there. Money. I have met the richest people in the world. I've met the brokest people in the world. And I'll take the people that are in between 24/7 because they know where they came from. They know where they're going. They understand the word reinvestment. And probably the first and biggest, best banker I ever had was Mike Servey. And Servey said, the greatest way you can make money is to take the money you have and whip it. And I thought, what is he talking about? 1978, I called Mike Servey up on a Sunday night. And I said, I need to borrow some money. He said, how much do you need? And I said, I think about 15,000. He said, why don't I give you 19 and you would have wished you asked for 20? I said, okay. Mike Serby financed the Great American Cowboy Radio Network, then the Great American Farmer Radio Network. At the end of a year, we'd made enough money that I paid Mike Serby back monthly. Called him up at the feedlot at Rogan, and I said, I've got that money paid off. I said, I need to pay the interest on that note. He went, no. Days he always had 4 or 5 phones. Talking to his accountant, and the accountant grabbed the phone from him and said, Bob, you don't owe him any interest. He says he loves you. Click.
It's always about the people, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. I've never been, say, I'm smart enough, but I've learned how to diversify. Out of the rodeo business has come the voice business. Out of the voice business has come commercials. I've been a member of SAG-AFTRA since Gary LeFew and I were tipping over chuck wagons at Cheyenne when I was working for Kurt Gowdy on ABC Wild Roller Sports. Back 1976, 7. And Bob Hinkle, dear friend, oh, God bless Bob Hinkle, took me and LeFew, and we went right to LA the next day. I don't even remember how we got on airplanes and why we did stuff. It just happened. And if you needed to get someplace, you knew how to get there. And we went and signed up for the Screen Actors Guild, cost like $50, and went right next door to the next building, signed up for the American Federation of Radio and Television Artists to do voice work. And LeFew now is, you have you seen his podcast? He's thinking the things he's doing at 80 plus years old. He's amazing. Old stink. He is amazing. Why couldn't have lived through that? And we were doing a Schlitz beer commercial, and we'd drive these wagons around and around, and we hit a deal and tip you over, let the horses pull you away. So we got in the stunts business, and the wagons would tip over and do all that kind of stuff. And that's how it all started from that. But you got to keep those diversification opportunities available for you and stay after it. Look at the empire that Tommy Joe has built. Could have went any and all other. Sound and lights. Piranha is one of 5 or 6 major sound and effects companies. And the productions you do, like in Salt Lake City and the other places, you've done piecemeal stuff. I love production. I love being involved. And you know what I think I really like out of that is I really think I'm being needed in order to, I'm having trouble with my iPad here. Here we go. I think being needed, wanted, and used is a big deal. Kendra, you think about the BFI Opens, and Bob Feist and I talk weekly, have for years. And Feist in his mid-80s right now, as vibrant and brilliant that he is. I remember the first time we sat down and figured out how to create the Roper Sports News on the hood of my truck in front of the commercial hotel in Elko, Nevada, where we were entered as in the roping. And they canceled the roping because here come all the Californians and Feist and me and some others. And they went, hell, the Wolves showed up. They canceled the roping. I said, we got to figure out how to be able to tell people how to make this work and do what we do. There came the Roper Sports News 30 days later. Amazing of what he's accomplished.
You know, and get well soon because he just had major shoulder surgery and he's
I get a picture every 5 days.
Turning his office into a casita so that any of us that happen by can stay. But you know, and Bob Feist, he was announcing Poly Royal at Cal Poly when I was in college, and we went to Joanne Switzer's house for tacos before the practice, and Bob Feist hired me. He cut me the first check of my career for $50, and he was the first person who took a chance that for me to write a story. So I'll darn sure never forget it. But I mean, when I think about the BFI, you know, all those years, it's like, well, here came Tallman. And by the way, my kids grew up on it, and the one Lane, I mean, they would have rope-ins in our house all the time, and him pretending to be Bob Tallman, and it got a little wild. But I mean, you're the voice of so many things. I mean, hello, Houston. You know what I mean? It's like, it goes on and on. Or Reno, you know?
I hope we have time to talk about Houston and some other stuff. Do you remember bringing Lane and the boys and stuff down to the announcer stand behind the pipe fence and like setting them on my lap? People say, how long have you known that Lane Santos? I said, since he was in diapers, and she never brought extras. And I said, how did them kids survive? And nobody mimics me better than he does today. A lot of people do. It's very flattering. And they say all that time, how well do you know him? I said, well, I know his grandpa. I go back. In all those days at the Cow Palace, when Cindy and Lee and Bonnie used to bring all their kids. They put them in a pasteboard box right at my feet. And they'd go sound asleep during the rodeo. As soon as the music quit playing, they'd wake up, want to know what was happening in the rodeo. So that happened in a lot of announcer stands. Nicole, my daughter, 51 years old, raised at Lake Comanche, right there at Kristen and I's feet. And a month before she was born, it was a hot bugger up there, and you know how it can get in the foothills. And Kristen just keeled over, passed out. Me and Nancy Cook are standing up there, and Nancy goes, oh my God, oh my God. I said, she'll be all right. She'll wake up in a minute. And we went on with the rodeo. Pretty soon Mom gets up, whatever. A month later, she goes to Reno, St. Mary's Hospital. There's my 51-year-old daughter today. Not born in rodeo, born because of rodeo.
Right. And I remember, I don't know how old Reno Rosser is now, but I remember being at Slack at Reno with my dad.
He's 13 days older than Nicole.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And I remember that somebody, it was probably, I don't know, whoever was timing Slack that day came on and said, yes, you know, Cotton had a baby boy this morning, named him Reno. There you have it.
Right here next week. It'll be Reno, and the week after on the 13th of July. Archiving. I'm amazed at what Greg does and what you all do and so forth and so on. I have 35 years of these books. I don't know if you can see that or not, whatever it is. And they're day books, and I still live with them today because of the ranch, and I'm a weather watcher, and Tommy Joe can tell you how our weather is here. That's why I know to the quarter of an inch of how much rain we've had, because I have to keep track of all of, you want to cook for a minute? This is how I teach people how to cook 3T Angus beef. And we don't have a sales team. I do it on a Facebook page. But I write down everything they all take pictures of what they cook, and they send them to me by text. I want to create an electronic cookbook someday. Why? Well, it's good for beef sales, but to teach people people today waste so much. And how to cook hamburgers and meatloaf, because it's a way of using that same meat again. How to trim stuff. Don't throw it away. Don't let it go in the garbage can. Keeping records of what we did, you and I are talking about them, and what we've come to is amazing. Tommy Joe called me the other day and he said, have you got some clips to play?
Yeah, we're gonna save that for the end because I can't, you know, the stuff that's in your head, everybody just sits and listens to. But I'm going to challenge you a little bit because you know me. I'm going to challenge you a little bit. Here's the deal. I'm going to give you about 15 words. Well, no, I want to tell two memories first. I'll walk down memory lane twice, and then I want to go into this because I think it'll be fun. So, a couple memories of Tallman. First time at Fort Worth, and I'm in the clown room with Dad, and you're walking up to go be in front of the band. I said, Dad, who's that? And he said, that's the next great rodeo product. Or this is the kind of things that Dad would say. So he did a perf at Fort Worth because I was, you know, you were an interesting look, right? I mean, You people out there don't know because you haven't lived quite as long as some of us on this call. But when he talks about Cy and these guys, there's so much I want to do with Bobby T, but we don't have time. But these guys they had silk voices and stated the facts very clearly and professionally because their role was really to commentate the action. Then comes a guy named Tallman who said, people like to read outside the lines a little bit. Goes back to my dad. So it's about Perf 23 at Fort Worth. And Dad's got a broom and he goes out there during the bull riding and he starts this deal. And Tallman and him start this deal about a broom, right? And of course, I was right on Dad's hip from 3 years old. And he walks out and he looks at me and he said, "What'd you think?" And I said, "That was good." He goes, "You know what's good about Tallman?" I said, "What?" He goes, "He's not scared to tell a story. He's not scared to take a risk. He's not scared to let his tongue go." Now, as I reflect on this, we do it in this podcast, right? How many times, Bobby T, that you have, if I'm guessing it's most of the time because it is with me, you have very little, it's out there. And as we get older, right, like the timing, the lines, the stuff, and it's just gold and you don't know where it came from. Well, you and I know, we all know where it came from. It come from God. But it just happens, right? And he said he's not scared to tell a story. So, but that's my last memory lane. This one will be fun, I think. So give me a little time here, guys. You've got 10 to 15 words. Use them wisely on each one of these that I tell you. Okay? You give me your thoughts in 10 to 15 to 20 words. You ready, boss?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Kristen.
Okay.
Go. You get to go. Got 10 or 15 words. You talk about her first.
Well, the thing is, I have drugged this woman for 55 years through everything you can imagine without a honeymoon. We were going to go on one, and then it snowed and we couldn't go skiing, so I took her to a bucking horse sale in Fallon, Nevada. One day she couldn't spell rodeo, and the next day she was one. She's become one, but when it came to having Nicole born, she said, "I'm not going to drag this kid." We did later, but through a rodeo arena. Went to Nevada, St. Mary's Hospital, Nicole was born. Right back on the road. Right back on the road. That's
okay.
I wrote
that
down
close.
Mom.
Mom. See, that's what mom. Isn't that cool? Mom.
Yeah.
I want you to think of these one words from your heart. So a lot of people don't know this because you don't want them to. Charity. Go.
Oh, that's simple. You got to give to get. People who are not benevolent rarely ever receive. When you learn the act of benevolence and become a giver, you cannot count what you'll get back. I'm not talking about money here, because charity could be your hands, your mouth, your eye, your back, your money, whatever. You've got to give in order to receive.
How much have you raised?
In all the charities I work with, I've been a part of 40 million different places. In my own charity at MD Anderson Pediatrics Cancer Research in Houston, 4 million, put 3 million in the bank. But in that, we have now become a connection that we have sent over 420 people to MD Anderson. We've lost 7. Mahan was the last. And when I started, they had about 3.74% of turning childhood cancer into full remission. Now we're 97.3% doing. So choose who you give to. It's not how much, it's how long and how constant you give.
All right, I got a couple more, Kendra, because I'm sure you're chomping. All right, now you already did a shameless promo for beef, but that's okay. So I'm going to say, remember,
Oh,
you get a couple words here. 3T Angus. Go.
well, I've been in the cow business since 1903 genetically, as I showed you the picture of my great uncle up on the rack behind me. 3T Angus beef is holistic, non-inoculated. Angus, of course, the chosen beef today. And we raise it totally holistic so that my customers call it sweet meat. I'm very, very blessed to have great genetics in the Angus breed. Red Angus with R.A. Brown and Throckmorton, the Cox Ranch Angus right here at Feaster.
Well, last one, and then I'll kick it back over to you, Kendra, because I'm sure you're chomping. And then I've got two more questions for you, and then we're going to roll. We're going to finish the show with the little comments on your clips. But the next one is real estate agent. It's kind of new. Go.
It's good. Everybody wanted to die when COVID came along, and they were all scattered. And oh my God, what are we going to do? Life's going to change. I said, on the way home from Houston, I called my partner Phil Sanders, who's been in the land business for 40 years. I said, we got to go get a real estate license. Right through this little door behind me is a tack room. I had never owned a PC before. We went and bought it. 218 hours on a computer, passed the license. We went to selling real estate. It has been monstrous because of the connections that I have all over the world. His brilliance, he does all the hard work. I find him and fluff him. He finishes it, and we do good work. For Platinum Realty and your good friend Wesley.
Wesley, you betcha. They're good. They're good people. Kendra, I'm sure you've got a mountain there. But I'll come back with a couple more questions for him that I think he'll find. The only last story, I'm sorry, but I love talking to Tallman. So I told you the story. Then it was, we were in Dallas, Texas. We were in a production meeting. I was producing the event. Bobby T was across the thing. And I'm telling my story because my story is through the production of an event, right? And everybody in the room is kind of gloss-eyed, right? But I look over and Tallman's at the far corner and he gets it. And he knows what I mean. He heard what I said. And so people are like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And I said, I don't know if you remember this. I said, all you can shut up. Tallman's got it. He gets it. He looked at me. He knows what I want to do. And that's when there was a standing ovation, if you remember right. I said, just let Tallman do his thing. We never talked about it. He winked at me, walked out, but I'm just saying, story, right? He knew the story. And I just thought that was cool.
You gotta, if you produce it, you have got to enhance it. And the things that I've seen you pull out of your butt, and I'm knowing there was me and your dad and a broom and a barrel and an old swayback black horse. Everybody knows what a broom is, but what you could do with it, and I saw Chuck Henson do it 40 years before. It's not how much you say, it's why you say it at the right time, and then be quiet, let it breathe, and say something else. And your dad could steal an audience from me and never say a word in a mic before mics. And what I could do was, the broom is on my mind. All I had to say was, nice broom. I didn't have to say, Tommy. The audience could see it. Let them get involved with him. Let him sweep a little. And then that long, far away look he used to get away from me. I was his stick. And so he could take an audience's eyes away to nowhere and then turn and look at me, and I'd bring him back and hand it back to the folks. And I don't remember what I'd say, but geez, I wished I had a broom like that. And then I'd say to the audience, don't you wish you had a broom like that? And he'd do this again, and they'd applaud. Produce it. Let's show them. Let me tell them about it.
Kendra, like I said, I'm going to wrap it up with a couple deals in the clip, but Kendra, I'm sure you've got some stuff.
The broom deal took me straight back to the Cow Palace when I was a kid. Okay, remember Tallman, how Wilbur Plugger used to stick a broom up the dummy's butt, and then the dummy, I don't remember what he called the dummy, but it would be out there during the bull riding, and the bulls would freight train the bull, and everybody loved it and all that. Okay, like the year before you took over the Cow Palace, my brothers and I, the contestants' families sat at the top of the building was the brass band.
Yep.
And okay, at the top of the building is the brass band, the contestants' families, and then there are you, the announcers, the timers, and all that. There was a year where Wilbur was out there with his broom and up the dummy's butt and all that. That my brothers and I actually, when we were talking about Cy Talon, who was one of the great masters, but we decided that either he might have been, because he never moved when he was announcing. We thought it's not my finest hour as a child, I suppose, but we threw popcorn at the back of his hat because we decided he was either a dummy or he was like the wax figures, because he never moved and so we thought he's not real. And so imagine the cyclone that then came behind him. But so this leads perfectly into my question. You being one of a kind ever, with those, masterful voices, but they spoke the facts. Who inspired you? Where did that come from? Because it's like Roy's roping. We'd never seen it before. Who inspired you to be different from anybody ever before you?
I had a dear friend that I used to rope with at the Oakdale 10, by the way. I have 2 of those belts. Said you rope 10 at Oakdale. His name was Vern Ryan. Then I went to the Cow Palace. My folks took me there when I was 12 years old. Stayed downtown in a hotel, and I went out there and we went to the Cow Palace. And I watched Cy Talon. He wore one of those little gentleman Stetson, JB Stetson hats. And he would walk up there in that silver gray hair, and he would take his hat off and set it down like that and go like this. And he'd pick up that mic and he'd say, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Grand National Cow Palace in San Francisco." I didn't know God was here. It was that. And I got goosebumps right now. That was 60 plus years ago. Okay. 70 years ago, when I was a kid, 12. So I went back to the hotel that night. I came back, walked from downtown San Francisco right up to Geneva and down to the Cow Palace. Went right out in the back, and there was Harry Charters, Dean Oliver, Kenny McLean. That next night, my folks came and I met them there. They weren't worried about it, 12-year-old kid in downtown San Francisco. I slept underneath the bunk in Kenny McLean's pickup, the Canadian bronc riding champion. And I got up the next morning. Dean Oliver and Harry Charters paid me each $1 for each horse. I rode Old Baldy C and led their roping horses. Then I got to see him when I was a kid working in a gas station. Winnemucca later, they'd come through there, Woody Bell, all them great guys. But I heard Cy Talon take a murmur out of an audience, pick them up, mold them, and shoot an arrow right through them. And from that point on, and I still do it today, you have 6 seconds to get a hold of an audience, and it's not about you. It's about them. I love to go to the rodeo, and some places don't let you do it anymore, but I love to talk to them for the 30, 40 minutes before, just little bits and pieces, work with the sound guy, play a song, comment about it, prep them up, prep them up, prep them up. You know what the toughest thing is doing at a rodeo today? Getting ready to go to Reno, there'll be 11,000 people there every night. Patrick Gotch, he just loved to see me pray on TV, is to pray on television and be authentic. I tell stories. I don't pray hardcore. When you're looking across an arena, 260, 70 feet, there's a guy with a 20-ounce beer. Maybe it's his second. And they stand up to listen to you pray and sing the national anthem. To not let that guy feel bad about having a beer in his hand, but to receive the message. And after a few years ago, Gotch had me in his office one day in Fort Worth. And he said, how do you do that? I said, I don't know, but I know that if I'm wrong, I don't ever get in their heart. And that's where I've come up with these stories about give me 15, give me 10, give me 10 seconds in the morning, 10 at night. And well, you're not giving it to me, but you're giving it to Jesus. If you'll do that, 10 will turn into 20, 20 will turn into 30, 30 will turn into a minute. When your feet hit the floor, before you reach and grab your cell phone, before you do anything else, could be dark, lights might be on, families all around you, you're all by yourself in a cheap hotel. Give me 10, give me 15. I'm going to start a new one at Reno this year. It's about what do you do when you see an ambulance? What do you do? Who do you pray for? And I've done it in some places. And it's not about you. It's about where your message goes, and do your prayers count?
Well, I have two quick questions, because I know these guys are anxious to play that, and we all want to see that. What Graves got on tap here, but one thing, how the music directors have become such a big deal from the brass bands, that but is this true? Did you and Kristen back in the day something to do with 8-track cassette tapes? Anne Murray and Marty Robbins, did you cue it up for a rodeo?
Yeah, I'm not sure where you heard that, Kendra. This was 8-track cartridge days, and you could buy Marty Robbins and Anne Murray. What I'm trying to think of the other ones. They were all trumpets and band playing music, no lyrics. And I had an 8-track cartridge tape that didn't come in that truck, sitting on the dash. And we'd be driving in that shell camper on the back, and I had those speakers up on top. And we wired it in. I don't remember how we jury rigged that deal together, but we would program those for 8 to 12 seconds. So instead of having an old 45 record player that when the buck and shoots had hit, it knocked the needle off the record. And that's the way I had watched guys for years, unless you had a live band like at the Cow Palace. So we would program that, and I'd pick a vignette out of that music. If I had Tommy Joe's people today, I mean, they could switch in Austin when we just finished at Santa Maria. It's amazing. What you do is you create a maze of heartfelt involvement, because people are tapping their toes, they're singing along, you stop, pull the slide down, they sing the rest of the song. That was pretty barbaric in those days. But in those days, I remember going to Battle Mountain Dale, go to Lovelock, to Reno, Hawthorne, into Utah, Caldwell, Idaho, and I would drive through the town in the residential areas with that mic hooked up, go, rodeo time, 2 o'clock today, hope to see y'all there, and play a little music and say, turn the corner and go down to the rodeo. I hope you got your rodeo tickets. We're going downtown. And you know who used to teach me and egg me on to do more of that was Wilbur Plogger. What a great man. What a great man. Those stories could go on. By the way, when you and Julie Bryant write my book, you, Kendra Santos, and Julie Bryant, who is a brilliant writer and a super lady right here in Fort Worth, are going to write my book. You're going to have to come stay in our apartment. It's pretty nice for 2 or 3 days. Bring Oda if you want. And we're going to talk and tell those stories. And I've got pictures to back it up.
Okay, I want to put you on the hot seat before we turn up the mic on you. You are the voice of countless rodeos. What? Fort Worth, Houston, Calgary, Reno, right? I mean, do you have an all-time favorite?
Yeah, different times in my career. The Cow Palace will always be one of those. Reno, of course, where we're going for the next couple of weeks, is one of those. Denver, Fort Worth, Houston, Lake Charles, Louisiana. Used to go with Jerry Clower, and we'd entertain him in Jackson, Mississippi. I think I've jokingly said to the press and other things, yeah, the one that paid the most. Hell, I've wasted or spent that money. It don't make any difference. And some I reinvested. Some I have no idea what I did with it. Lots of cows, I guess. The best rodeo that I have ever worked, and I've done 25 in Australia and Alaska and Hawaii. I think the best one, you've got me revved up, you two. The best one I've done is going to be the next one I do. And here's why. Your mind is a muscle. Your heart is a muscle. And if you have passion to let your heart run with what's on your mind, you will be good at what you do. So when I say hello, Houston, in front of 70,000 people in NRG Stadium, I used to say it the night that we hired George Strait for the very first time when Eddie Rabbitt didn't show up. And I got to introduce my friend Winona Judd as his opening act. And here comes George. And I was a horseback in the Astrodome. Well, you could get lost there. It only held 60,000. And what you do is you learn how to manipulate people's interest. Then you learn how to manipulate them to cheer. And all you're doing is you're kneading them like bread to get them involved with you, standing there or in that horse out in the arena. And you think about the great guys I work with. I just talked to my buddy Wayne Brooks this morning. He's in Sisters, Oregon, starting tomorrow. And I'll work with anybody. I don't care who they are. You fit them. And Brooks has got a statement that I think is the greatest thing in the world. When you're the number 2 man, it's your job to make the number 1 man be the best. If you are the number 1 man, it's to bring with you that number 2 man into the fold. And I love to work with Garrett. I love to work with Anthony. I've got a young man, Garrison Allen, who is brilliant. David Allen's boy, as you well know. And these young guys, they stand there at awe and look at you. And I go, quit looking at me. Blow your head out of your ass. We're fixing to take off here. And when I leave, you better be beside me, not behind me. I had Garrison Allen about 5 years ago, Plains, Montana. He had no clue. I pitched him a wireless mic and I said, take it away. And he went, I said, talk. Say what you see, because they see it too. Make it bigger. If it's red, make it brilliant. If it's white, make it pure. If it's dark, make it so dark that they can't see it. Put the lights on. And that's what you've got to do.
Cool.
That's a long way around to answer your question.
Awesome.
That's telling stories. That's telling stories. Well, because of time, I had one more question, but I'm going to skip it. But I'm going to go ahead and ask it to you. Does it ever irritate you? Because we're no spin here. And you got to be honest. Does it ever irritate you when you have to sell something that you know the fans aren't going to buy?
Yeah, like killing a guy in the arena. Like a guy gets killed right in front of you.
Yep.
Like a horse gets killed right in front of you.
Yep.
It's easy.
Yep.
Before you breathe, you connect with Jesus Christ.
That's a good one. That's exactly what everybody needs to hear. Well, we're going to play, and Brill, he showed you this. We're going to play one of two, what the Piranha crew likes to call the Tallman bombs. So everybody listen up, and then I think we're going to get a chuckle out of the legend on these. Greg, when you can, let it roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll make a little noise, it's fixing to get real stupid in here. Wow, I love it. Yard darts, they have 8 months of winter, 2 months of summer, and 4 months of road construction. Like these basketball shorts because they got pockets, you can count to 11. Let's go. Ouch, that's gonna leave a mark. Gotta see this guy's life. This guy, he doesn't even have a neck.
That one looks like an Oreo cookie.
Why don't you run up and touch his cream filling? What? Too many players on the field. I spent a night with him one time. Slept right beside him. Don't think I want to know anymore. We listened to a little Charlie Daniels and we got into the Bible. Yep, been there, done it. It's amazing when you're on your hands and knees and you look between your legs and you see what's coming. Oh, them college kids, they bounce like rubber. When you're 60, you just lay there. That will jerk an egg out of a big chicken right there. You're also going to get a knife and a fork to get the wedgie out of your butt from hitting on it so hard. It's not your hands, it's where you put your thumbs. Come on, big boy, is that your sister? Kick it in when the sun don't shine. Chocolate chip pumpkin nut bread. All them old hairy-legged boys. That baby's about 4 months old. He wears a 7 1/4 resist all hat. Have you seen the melon on this kid? He must have been eating quiche when he named him. That's the kind of guy you hope your daughter will marry someday, but you ought to see his wife. Woo! Oh, and she ain't afraid to spank one. What? Got a belly on him like a rodeo announcer. Zzz. I'll take it. You gotta move to Nova Scotia. There ain't enough cheese in Washoe County to cover the burgers he'd make. Oh, it's gonna go viral. I'll put that on Bookface.
Oh, classic.
That's living the moment right there, buddy. But did you notice I had somebody working with me presenting an opportunity? A cowboy, a clown, another rodeo announcer, or a music lyric. And I had something to play off of. You get on your hands and knees and look between your legs, and there's a bull coming, going to hook you in the ass. You get a whole different view about life. Not how bad it's going to hurt, or how far he's going to throw you. And people think about, Jesus. You know, I mean, I can't get down on my hands and knees anymore because I can't get up. The thing would be is, I want to make a comment, Tommy, because Tommy Joe, you made a comment to me about this farewell tour. Kiss my patootie, people. There is no farewell tour. This works into one of the greatest all-time rodeos, and I've said it, your dad said it, that I always wish never ended. The Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo, FWSSR.com. Brad Barnes retired this year, and I will be there 50 years. Garrett Urigan and your brother, Anthony Lucia, are two of the youngest, greatest, most brilliant, well, they're geeks, both of them. They live on a computer and an iPad and Bookface and all that other stuff, and they're very cordial to help me do what I do on this iPad and how it works. And the thing with it is, it's time for a change. It wasn't my decision, but Mr. Barnes and Matt Carter and Cal White, who is the rodeo production manager there, all came together and said, what do you think about this retiring? I said, I think it's bullshit. Don't let the old man in. What do you want to do? And so they told me. And I said, okay, if you do it, I don't want no big hoopla. I'll be there at the Ranch Rodeo on Friday and Saturday nights and some of the weekends. And then I get to go do the quarter horse stuff in the John Justin Arena. And I said, that's okay. I am not quitting. I'm not even backing up. I've taken 2-3 new rodeos that I'm excited to go to for some new space, new people, new income. And the day that I quit, you just won't see me anymore. And I'll be off selling real estate, running more cattle, producing boxed beef, watching my grandson. By the way, tomorrow I'm going to Abilene to watch Canyon John Robert Pennell. He and his partner, Hagen Wright, are going in to the regional. They won the region 3, and they're going into Abilene starting tomorrow in the number 1 spot to hope to be in the top 4 to go to Rock Springs. So I'm going to go to Rock Springs when I'm done with Stay Smith's Lane Frost bull riding on a Tuesday, Wednesday, go to Rock Springs to watch them rope if they qualify and make it. So backing up, no, not really. Going forward ahead, I ain't letting the old man in. I'm only 77 years old. I got a lot of life left in me. No, I don't jump over fences anymore, and I got nice, gentle cattle. And I'm thinking about buying a new motorhome this summer. Mom wants one. And how you going to pay for that stuff if you ain't working? Piranha, Kendra, Tommy Joe, Greg, and all the other staff that you have in this podcast. I only do a few podcasts. Jordan Joe Hollabaugh and I've done a couple. She's my geek. She does the social media stuff for me. And I've done a few others. I have waited, and I don't just do anybody's podcast. Because when we say no spin, no politics, no BS, what you have done in 61 shows going to 62 is brilliant. And I hope and bless you all. May Jesus be your leader, and may your banker be brilliant. Go for it. Go on with it. Kendra, I've watched you in a quarter screen off the side of my cell phone instead of this big screen on this iPad since we started. So if anybody says he's looking funny, looking down in there, just remember, take a lot of pictures. 1903 is a big one in the background. That dog smoking a link, that's a bigger background. I've got Fort Worth pictures back here of when we're all standing down. Tommy Joe, you've been in a bunch of those. And here you go. See you on TV right here in just a few days. God bless you all.
God bless you, man. It's
Thank
just
you.
like, yeah, the absolute man, an industry icon, and just, you know, there are people who will never be matched or replaced. Bob Tallman's my man.
I don't know if I could pay you by an ad how I compensate you, but I would really like to do a real estate podcast because people are swarming to this country so ill informed about moving here. And they all want to move to Weatherford these days. We got the highest taxes Park County in place in the world. I'd love to do a deal. I'm very passionate about this because when you raise, I don't know if you can see this picture. Can you see that picture?
Yes, sir.
When you raise beef and a family buys it, a quarter, a half, or whole beef, and they cook it and do what they do, and it looks like this kind of stuff. They're putting your product that took me 22 to 24 months past conception into their mouth, and they're feeding their families. You can't buy liability insurance. We've been 16 years doing it, and now we send out about 60,000 pounds of finished beef annually. Do you know how many kids have been eating my beef for 15 years? And you think about that. I go to bed sometimes at night going, boy, I hope nobody got sick on my beef today. And if they did, you know, hope they pooped it out right quick. But
Well,
life's exciting.
I'll wrap it up a little bit with, how do I do this? So you see Bob Tallman, he's puppeteering people's hearts. The showman in him,
Well put.
the PT barman in him comes out all the time. But let me tell you, people, what few of us see. And that's a young cowboy standing in the shadow of his success, willing to put his hand on someone to help them. Do you know how many people he's tried to help take his job? So I'm going to give you the final word, Bobo, because you are without exception. We're still on air.
Okay, for any of you kids just saw me take a pinch of Copenhagen, don't you do that.
Hey, we're still on air. And I'm going to give you final word. I'm going to read
Okay.
something that I read earlier. Final word, and then we're going off air. Okay, boss?
Okay, boss.
Not the awards or the accomplishments. It's the friendships and the memories. Final word, Mr. Tallman, and we're off air.
Whatever any and all of you do in the next 5 minutes, make it positive. Do it, say it, paint it, eat it, digest it with a passion. My great friend in Roy Cooper, who I'm getting ready to plant a tree for him, had a passion that only lasted about 40 years. But in that passion, he changed the world of calf roping, horsemanship. If you're going to be big, be clean while you're big. If you're going to be small, be boisterous. If you're going to be tall, don't look down on people. Sit down and look them in the eye. And the last thing you do at night, you give thanks for what Jesus Christ has given you the chance to have. And tomorrow morning, you thank him first. He will bless you all day long. Amen.